it is. All right, friends. Oh, she start that.
She's good. I'll try to cover that for you.
I want to tie this idea of margin of error back into what we see here. So, remember what the margin of error was on the study?
Plus or minus 4.
Plus or minus 4%. That means you've got an 8% sway around whatever the number they tell you is. So, I'm okay with slate verbiage changes of 6 in 10 Americans favor. I would rather them say a majority of Americans favor over oppose, because that's more correct statistically. I take issue with the fact that support for offshore drilling and oil exploration in Alaska reach new highs. That's the one I have a problem with, because it implies that the majority of Americans are supporting offshore drilling in Alaska. That's my problem with the second question. See, because the second question also has a plus or minus 4% attached to it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So that means when they say 49% say it should, it's actually 45 to 53%, somewhere in there said they should. 45 to 53. And when they say, well, it's the same margin for that too.
No opinion, like also.
Oh, of course that, but I'm just looking at yes versus no. 45% might be as low as 41, might be as high as, now you see that happen there? 49 overlaps the interval of 49. Which means there's actually a chance, a statistical chance that can be measured, that more said no than yes in the population, or more would say no than yes in the population. In the sample, more said yes than no. But because of the uncertainty in the result, there's a chance of a flip-flop of that. No opinion we can rule out because it's so low that it won't affect those two.
No, I just thought like in between, because like you get yeses and nos in between there that are no opinion, and so like no opinion.
Oh, I'm assuming a trichotomy. They either said this or this or this. There's no overlap there. But the problem is that yes, in the sample, more said yes than no. But in reality, in the population, that might be the other way, and we missed it because of the poll. Now, there is a confidence 95% attached to that, which means something statistically. It means 95 times out of 100. We're going to trap the parameter correctly. But trapping the parameter is only trapping the parameter within those margin bars. It might be at the high end or the low end of those margin bars. The only way to make it more precise is to make the margin bars smaller. And the only way to make that happen, this is a 244 thing, to make that happen is to increase your sample size. Get more than 1,000, get 10,000, get 40,000. That's why CDC does 50, 60, 70,000 trials sometimes to get the margin of error down to a 0.5%. That's a 244 thing we'll get into, I promise you. But that's the application of margin of error, though. That's how you apply a margin of error you get from a study. You take whatever statistic they tell you, and you add and subtract that margin of error onto that statistic, and that's the full answer. Does that make sense? Davidson, go ahead, kick in. You want to kick something in?
I was just curious, because the margin of error is plus or minus 4%.
Yes, sir.
The minus 4% for people who said yes, but then plus 4% for people who said no, or does it go the same?
Both. You have to do both of those around that number. You don't get to pick or choose, unfortunately. I picked or choose to show that that might be actually opposite of what they're saying up here. If you subtract from 49 and make it as small as it possibly would be 45%, that's smaller than this could be at its largest. So there's a possibility exactly the opposite is true. Measurable in 244, not to keep pushing them all on the plate, but at least now we have a margin of error calculation on the statistic, which is what you have to do. Demand a margin of error. I used to write to CNN during election seasons, no margin of error. And they started, not because of me, but they started putting them on the polls. In the bottom, very small, 8-point font. It's there, though. Because this is what Scott would call a statistical dead heat. Too close to call. Because 49 to 45 is only 4%, and the overriding margin of error is 8% wide, you can't differentiate. They're within the same range with each other. This, plenty far apart to differentiate. Too close to call? Definitely not too close to call. You see the difference there, friends? I got a feeling the ISIS polls are going to be like this too, so I'll do some Googling later and have you guys track those down. I'm thinking that might be similar results like this one. Cool so far? Ask me questions.